Hello and welcome to Acting Texas. I'm here interviewing Brian Thornton of Clear Performance Acting Academy.
Hi everybody.
So we're going to jump right into it with our first question. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Clear Performance Acting Academy. Can you tell me about that?
I've been doing this for 30 years. Before it was studying many different techniques that are quote unquote the norm, and they never really sat with me. So I went on a psychological journey, seeking within, finding out about all these shields and who I was. It wasn't to become a better actor, it was to become a better me. And some of the processes that I learned along the way, I realized, wait a minute, hang on. That's touching within, the roles that I play. I'm shielding, the guy that's interested in the girl, so he shields by being funny or stupid or overcompensating, and or the guy that is afraid to do the things that he wants to do his entire life, and then he finally realizes, I should have been doing this all along, and he has this awakening, this epiphany. Or being able to reach out to his children and truly tell them I love you rather than joking around. It's all these shields. So through those processes, I thought, there's something here. So I put it to test 3 years ago, and I was so much more richly connected.
So how did this cathartic process of all these emotions lend itself to help you create a process for actors to use in their preparation?
I took a look at what most people were saying. You've got to get into character. Subconsciously, that's telling people you're not there. You have to go through all of these things outside. It's man-made for you to study the emotions of these people to get into that character, which is rubbish. Don't get into character, get into emotions. I mean, even though I'm not a wife beater or a racist or any of these things, I can see these people and see that they are genuinely truthful to themselves. They're still joyful. I may not identify my joy with what they are doing. I get into their emotion. I base everything on what they are doing, and I see that they're happy with who they are, or sad with who they are, or all of those things. And so that's where I use one of the processes that I use called the clearing. That's the name of my academy, is called the Clear Performance Acting Academy, because I use this process called a clearing. And it clears the energy. It's not clearing any kind of, it doesn't clear by, it inadvertently heals outside of the acting world, but I've modified it for the acting world so nobody's getting into deep harm. But it clears my energy between me and my character so I can see clearly who they are, and then I can connect with them and then become them. And it can happen within 15 minutes. So that's another reason why it's so cathartic for me, because I'm always learning. My students are always learning about themselves as well through this process. So it's been phenomenal since I've been doing this.
So, I mean, that sounds amazing, but what can I expect from your class as a student?
That every single answer, to your question is all within you. I teach you how to shine a light on it. Have a conversation with somebody without first having a feeling or an emotion. You can't do it. So why in the hell are people teaching, you got to memorize, 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 memorize. And then we have a bunch of people happy because they got through their scene, I got all my lines right. And it's this horrific. I don't know how many people are going to see this, but the last several roles that I've booked on majors, I wasn't off book, but the directors didn't see that. They saw a human being come into life and going through their struggles and all these things. With respect to the writers, so I'm not upsetting any writers, you're writing brilliantly. That's how we were able to read the beauty of your words. That's what touched us the most. And so I've learned to trust what I'm feeling when I read this piece of artwork. Now I don't throw it away so that I can memorize out of respect. I trust my true connect with the writer and what they wrote. And when I trust what the brilliance that's on a piece of paper, I trust that I'm connected to it through my process. I become connected. Those lines come naturally. So I may be off a syllable or a word or two, but my emotions are rich and full. And I think, and the writers and the directors have been appreciative of that as well.
What I remember, you know, when I met you and learned about some of the things that you've done, is that Fear of the Walking Dead. I mean, that was amazing.
Thank you.
We're talking about memorization. I mean, you had told me a story where you got the role, you got on set, and they added a whole crap load of extra dialogue, but you did. How did you do that?
The vast majority, there are a few people that are in my classes that are struggling with the memorization because they really have a hard time letting go of that. As soon as somebody turns the corner and realizes, I'm feeling this and this is exactly what I would say, all of a sudden they're living it. And it happens in one class sometimes. And it clicks. So yeah, what I teach in my class is not a technique. I teach the entire program. There's nothing like going to a seminar and paying to an expensive seminar for some amazing person that comes in. And so you only spend this magnificent short amount of time for 2 days. Like there's one coming up, some guy out in New York. No offense, I love what he's doing and everything like that. But then he leaves. And the people are left to their own devices to try to remember this beautiful discovery that he brought to them and they discovered. My class does this it's supported every single day. Who your market is, you're going to be playing your market. That helps. In class, people are going to get in touch and become very vulnerable through this process, and then relate to this person that's having that moment in their life. And it's done in a way that when we go back to where it started, the author or the writer's words, the punctuation, everything, all of that, we read it the first time and felt instantly what this person was conveying. So now we build that trust on the instant of what we're feeling. We trust that we've got it. Mind you, we've got to learn how to pick up everything from the script. I teach that as well. So now I've got this trust. I'm learning how to pick up everything from the script, from all of the information about everything that's happening. I get in touch with my emotions. I look back and I go through the lines and they effortlessly go off of the page with practice. And the people that are just starting out, it's new. They've been beaten, so many people have been beat into their brains. Memorize first, say it over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And then try to re-inject what you felt in the very beginning.
Tell me about the golf swing and how you use that as part of your training.
So the golf swing, really, really solid athletes that are just consistent, throwing out all of the pressures, and there's a lot of pressures in this industry, throwing out all the pressures of having to throw a strike in key component times, or or playing golf and it's down to the 18th hole and you've got to putt, whatever. Throw out all of that stuff. The whole purpose of me creating a golf swing type of deal, or if you will, is so that people can focus on the 5 or 6 things that they need to do. Which is easier, focusing on 5 things to do, or the 20,000 things that might go wrong? Or what if I do this, or what if I do that? It really helps throw out the what if and focus on becoming this emotional being that I am and who I need to be in this scene. And it changes, and it doesn't matter whether the same character, but earlier in the plot versus later in the plot. Oh, but there's some history there. It doesn't matter. The writer, in their brilliance, wrote everything that needs to happen in that scene. So the golf swing works from this scene. It's going to work in this scene as well, consistently. So stick with the golf swing.
So your method is going to simplify the amount of minutia that's going on in the actor's brain.
Absolutely.
During the process.
Absolutely. And if there was a look, it's like any other hack. If people can simplify, there's all these hacks out there. Do these 5 things and become a millionaire, make a 6-figure income in a week, and just do it over and over again. If everybody could do it, you know, if there was a way, and I believe that there are ways.
Yeah.
And I believe that my way is a way to really get deep. It doesn't harm somebody. It doesn't harm the actor. It brings things up and we can see it and we can continue on to complete the healing process or the discovery. That's fine. But to get so deep into something for this character without harm in their market, it's all relative to their business and who they are in a short amount of time. Very, very powerful.
So it sounds like your classes are of a different size than the typical class. Tell me about your class.
Right now I'm maxed out. I've got 6 people per class and I've got 4 classes. I'm maxed out because I've got to pull scene work for people that they would actually realistically play in these scenes. So if I've got a student that plays teenager, let's make it even more tricky, an African-American teenager that looks like a cheerleader, you know, she would play teenager, you know, that type. Okay, yes, we judge and we all need to be comfortable with typing. I'm very comfortable with my type. And I've got another person who is a female who is nurturing looking, probably in her 50s. That's kind of easy. I might be able to find a script or a story where there's a cheerleader that's having a hard time. Maybe she's going through a pregnancy or whatever, and this person's a high school counselor, and there may be a scene with that. I've got to find that. Meanwhile, I've got 4 other students that I've got to find scenes for them so that we can shoot it. And during the class, we shoot it as it's on set. We have over the shoulders, we have masters, sometimes like that. Not in our beginner classes, a lot of it's over the shoulder because there's so much more that they're learning about themselves, about the industry all at once. So my classes are intense. I can't fit more than 6 people.
So Brian, tell me why you do this. Why are you a teacher? What does it bring to you?
Because I'm putting on my mentorship hat and I want to be the best frickin' mentor. Otherwise, why would I even put on that hat?
Yeah. I
didn't put on my finance hat. I didn't put the numbers game hat on there. I put on my mentorship hat. And I feel good about myself when I look back and think I impacted human beings the way that I wanted to impact them, to where they find self-love, self-appreciation, they see their self-brilliance, they see how amazing they are. They get used to what they look like and love what they look like. And when I see my students do that and they leave this academy and they're feeling all those things, it's hard for me to go to sleep. I can't, after class, I can't get to bed. I can't finally fall asleep until 2 o'clock. I'm amped with those things.
So I've mentioned before, you've been doing this for 30 years. Mm-hmm. In those 30 years, either as an actor or as a mentor, tell me about your proudest moment.
Hiding from my kids that I was driving back and forth, they were little, going back and forth to Austin to shoot a kids film. Yeah. And then bringing them out there to the premiere at South by Southwest. Big, huge thing going on. We were dressed up and I was all excited that my kids were finally going to see Dad on a big screen and everything. And there's he's now 23, but at the time I think he was 4. Both my kids on either side. I was anticipating, you know, my son's here, wow, looking at Dad going, oh, what, there's Dad. There I am, I walk onto the set, or onto the scene, and my youngest looks, and he looks up at this big, huge screen TV, and he was like, Dad, your nose is huge. That was it. Nothing else. I was like, wow, okay, great. That was Spy Kids 2. And then Friday Night Lights, the writers were amazing. And we find out that my character had not been behaving very well, and we find out why. He's going through a very difficult situation. It's very similar to my life situation where my wife died. My wife passed away when my kids were 2 and 4, and in the script they didn't know my real wife had died, and I didn't know my character's wife. They didn't tell me that. I just thought I had one episode. It turned out to be a couple. So the writers actually, I asked them, I said, there's a few things that I wanted to say to my wife that I didn't get to tell her.
Wow.
And they allowed me to say them.
Wow. It was great. It was great. And then one of them wound up on there, and I was just like, oh God, there it is. And it was fantastic. But the writers, you know, a lot of people say the writers, you know, you've got to be by the book, but a true professional writer wants to get the job done, wants to get the story told. And countless times they'll allow, it's a beautiful relationship between the writers and what the actors bring, and the director makes sure to capture it. The DP is on it, bring it in focus and all that stuff. It's a great thing. Anyway, that was a good moment. Here's something that I'm proud of. The whole purpose of Clear Performance Acting Academy, me sharing it with everybody, is I chose, God, I love my agents, but I chose to restrict a lot of the roles that I would play because I chose to be a father. I want to be present in my son's lives, and I didn't think taking these longer roles and all of these things, I felt that would take me out of being a really, really good father. So I really, really focused on what could I do to maximize booking these smaller roles that I could be effective. And it wasn't this resentful, they're not hiring me, then screw, I'm going to go off and do it. And I was like, no, they're not hiring me, it's me. There's got to be something that I've got to do. So I learned all these different hacks to really maximize the amount of bookings that I was going to get versus the auditions. And how to run the business. I'm a 1099. Then market myself accurately. Don't waste my time doing things that I wouldn't ordinarily do. You will not find me studying the Japanese dialect. I will study the Scottish. I will study the Australian, the Boston. I'm not going to waste time. Stunt fighting. I'm going to learn to be, the alpha who's doing that, and learning how to take a blow and getting shocked and woken up and making it real. I'm not going to learn how to be the guy getting abused and getting hurt. So I know my business, and it was, I think, that difficult time of being a father, excuse me just for a second, it was an amazing time. Difficult if I want to be an actor while being a parent. That's difficult. That was a challenge, and I've done, I'm proud of what I did with that. But I'm spreading the shortcuts, what I learned, for everybody else. Anybody can do these.
Thank you for joining us here on Acting Texas today in our interview with Brian Thornton.
Hi everybody, glad to see you.
And I will be posting his links to the files that we mentioned in this interview down below. So look for those. All right, have a great day.